Nick Krall has planted his flag, and the next 2 months are the highest importance for his Cincinnati Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, I'm Stephen Offenbaker. He's Jeff Carr. Thanks for being an everydayer and joining us on today's Locked On Reds that's brought to you by Kalshi. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app, use the code Locked On to get up to $500 in bonus credits when you trade just $25. A little bit later on today's show, we're going to get you set for the matchup with the Sacramento A's. Yeah, that's right. I said it. Rob Manfred, what are you going to do about it? We're going to break down that series for you. Also, guess what, folks? The time of Hector Rodriguez has arrived, and it's vital that he performs well. We're going to talk about Hector's arrival here in just a few minutes, but where we're going to start is your friend and mine, Nick Krall, had some things to say, and the next 2 months are very important for the Cincinnati Reds. And you know what, Jeff, just before we get started, the show yesterday, I think we were in the same place that most people that follow this team are emotionally. I want to tell you how surprised I was that there were some of your Krall defender friends in the comment section after yesterday's show. There were people backing up Nick Krall. I was a little surprised.
I don't understand it, but look, Nick Krall has planted his flag. He has said the importance of the rest of this season. It is so unquantifiable. In fact, well, he tried to quantify it. He basically said the performance from the team in the next 2 months is worth more than anything they could have gotten for future considerations of prospects at the trade deadline. I mean, he said it himself.
I would leave the possibility open. We've got a couple months left in the season, but I would leave that possibility open. No, I mean, we weighed that going into the deadline, but at the end of the day, though, you know, what we were getting back from teams we talked to at the deadline was didn't offset that for the last 2 months of the season.
These next 2 months better be good, Steve.
No, timeout. Did they, for the video, folks, did they catch Nick Krall trying to sneak some ice cream? Like, did they interrupt him making a sandwich? Why
Another kitchen,
this year? Why this year is everybody always in the kitchen? The draft was in the kitchen.
Yep.
The trade deadline is in a kitchen. What do they not have a conference room anywhere at Great American Ballpark?
I was told in my communication classes in college, I was told that like 80% of what you say is not the words coming out of your mouth. It's like your demeanor. It is your facial expressions. It is what you are wearing. It is everything. Everything is the narrative, right? Everything that you are putting out there is the message that you're putting out there. The message that he's putting out there, Steve, I guess the Reds are going to make the playoffs. I don't know about that. They've got a long road to hoe. They got a lot of folks in front of them. They keep talking about how many games they're behind. They don't talk about how many teams are in front of them. But Nick Krall was, he was answering the question of, do you think that you will keep any of these players on expiring contracts? Because the Reds had 7 players with expiring contracts heading into the trade deadline. They traded 2 of them. So are you going to keep any of those 5? He says he's leaving the door open there. But he also followed that up by telling you that none of the deals he was talking about had any future value that he thought was worth more than what these guys will provide to the Reds for the next 2 months. So buckle up. The Reds are about to go on a run, baby.
Well, the only thing that makes this make sense is if they win the World Series. So anything short of that is you let all of these players walk and got nothing in return. There's only 2 ways to look at it. You kept them all and you won the World Series, in which case we're going to have to eat crow for a long time. I'm not worried about that. Or they're not going to win the World Series, which they never were gonna. You're going to let these players walk, which they were always gonna, and you're going to get nothing in return for them, and you're not going to be better next year. So, I knew he was going to come out and try and spin this in some direction. That's actually, it's true, Jeff. That's a direction.
It's super short-sighted in my opinion. And he even, it was interesting because he was asked, about why he didn't make more trades, and even see Trent like follow that question up and his really, kind of basic answer with, all right, well, how does this trade deadline affect 2027 and beyond? Though Krall's answer about the future was really a non-answer.
We had a lot of conversations about a lot of guys, and at the end of the day, the deals just weren't there for us, and that's why we moved the guys we did. I think that Brady Singer is one of our veteran leaders in our starting pitching staff. Tyler's the same way. I think it's really important to have those guys around this club than just saying, hey, we're going to move guys off. I think it's really important to have bullpen guys that can lock down wins for this group, the young group right now. And obviously, a couple of those guys are going to be free agents at the end of the year. But we feel we're still excited about the group we have and going into 27.
I feel like if you had that GIF of Spock and the camera just like zooming in on him and he just eyebrow raise. Yeah, it is important to the future of the club that they win now. So, okay, I've learned something here from what he's talking about. Not only does Nick Krall approach each trade in a vacuum, I think he approaches each season in a vacuum. Next year can only be good if this year is good. This year is what makes next year a good year, if this year is good.
There's no reasonable baseball person out there that can put a positive spin on a team that is guaranteed to not make the playoffs. And what are they on Kalshi right now? 8%.
Kalshi straight 8%. Yeah.
8% to make the playoffs. 8%. So there's an 8% non-zero chance, but they're not going to make the playoffs and they're going to have nothing to show for those free agents. So I wish that the beat guys would push back a little harder, and I know they can't, and we've talked about that in the past as to why. But just push back a little bit harder and just be like, Nick, that doesn't make any sense because you're not going to make the playoffs. So what is keeping this production around gain you starting on, when's the season in? Like October 1st, October 2nd, somewhere in that range, right?
Like September 27th.
Yeah. What is having that kept that production in Cincinnati gain you in the first week of October as everybody is exiting the building? What have you gained? You've gained absolutely nothing.
So I think I know what this is coming from. This is not him preaching good baseball philosophy. This is him preaching Castellini philosophy. There is a certain amount of wins that the Castellinis expect because a certain amount of wins equals a certain amount of revenue. And the Reds want to make a certain amount of revenue. And they're only willing to invest a cost to get a certain amount of wins. They're not going to invest the same cost as the Dodgers or the Mets or even the Cubs or even, other teams like that, because if they invest that cost and that win total does not happen, if things go awry, if injuries happen, if ineffectiveness happens, then they are out much more than those other teams are, because those other teams can just reload and try again next year. The Castellinis can't. The way that the Castellinis can reload and try again for next year is to invest a certain amount of money. And they have done that. They have invested their amount of money into the wins that they want.
It's 83 wins, right? That's the magic number. The magic number
77 to 83 is kind of what
I think they want winning seasons, and they want to be in the conversation for the final wild card spot, not even the first wild card spot, just the final wild card spot. Right. Can this team be 500? Can they get back to 500?
I think they can. That's not going to make the playoff team.
Too. It's not going to make them a playoff team. There's too many teams in front of them, but I think they could get to 500. And if for the love of God, if we have to listen to Nick Krall sit around at the end of this year and talk about how this was a winning baseball team, I am going to lose my mind.
The vacuum extends to their own interpretation of success. They interpret success in their own vacuum that has nothing to do with other teams, has nothing to do with our expectations of what the Reds can be. And that is clear by this deadline. There's more clips that we have, and quite frankly, I think that would just pile on to what we're thinking about here. But the point is that we have understood how the Reds value each season. and it's frustrating to me. And as I think I kind of brought this up last night on Monday's show, reacting to the trade deadline that wasn't. There's the Reds in the suits and the Reds in the jerseys. I guess technically it's Reds in the polos, but I digress. Reds in the polos or the suits. We root for the Reds in the jerseys, and hopefully the Reds in the jerseys can make this more, because the Reds in the suits have told us they won't make this more. The key here is, though, Steve, they could have invested in the future, and they could have gotten some flyers or some darts or some, chances to make the teams better in the future, a la what they did when they traded Tyler Naquin and acquired Hector Rodriguez, who we will see starting tonight. We're going to tell you exactly why he is becoming the most important player on the Reds team.
There's nothing like watching a live baseball game down at GABP. The excitement, the fans, the food, the Dora, good times down there at the banks. The only problem, getting tickets can feel like a grind. Long queues, surprise fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why there's Game Time. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. Jeff and I talk about Game Time all the time. We head down to the Dora, we find ourselves a spot, we grab something to eat, we grab something to drink, and just before first pitch, we jump on the Game Time app, we grab our tickets, and we stroll into the stadium. It's just that simple. A couple taps, and it's done. No stress, no hidden fees, just great seats in minutes. That's what makes it so easy to decide to get last-minute tickets with Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today.
The rest of this season is vitally important for the Cincinnati Reds, and you can get in on that importance over on Kalshi, because right now the Cincinnati Reds are trading at 8% to make the playoffs. And if you put a $100 trade in on that, your payout could be $804 if the Reds do pay out on that 8% to make the playoffs. Because on Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house, and as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. Trade the draft pick, trade the game, trade the trade, and more over on Kalshi. Download the Kalshi app today and use the code LOCKEDON to get up to $500 in bonus credits when you trade $25. Kalshi. Kalshi. Trade on anything. 18 and up only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Thanks for making Locked On Reds your first listen, or just part of your day in general. We enjoy talking Reds baseball with you, and will be every day the rest of the year, because that's what we do here. And look, if you want to lock in, you got to join the Everydayer Club. We've got a link down in the description below that you can follow, or you can type in lockedonreds.supercast.com to learn more. $5 a month, $50 for the whole year. Get ad-free episode feed that's audio only, and a monthly exclusive chat with us. We're going to open up this idea for Everydayer Club members that we're going to have an exclusive chat. It's not shared with anybody else. We just have some fun talking Reds baseball each and every month. And I think going to be a Google Meet. Kind of been messing around with that.
That's going to be a face-to-face kind of thing, folks, on the video. We're not talking about just, texting. We're going to all sit down and sip some beverages and talk ball.
So make sure you check out the Everydayer Club today. All right, Steve, Hector Rodriguez is here. Let us say that we lived in the time of Hector. I don't know if you saw the Odyssey yet or anything like that. It's a great follow-up to Troy. I love Troy. Great movie. But Hector is here, and he just became one of, if not the most important Red for the rest of the season.
Well, he's important from a keep this season some kind of relevant and interesting. just to watch and see what Hector Rodriguez does. Look, I'm excited about this. I've been wondering what the Reds have been waiting on to get him up here. And the reason I say that is if you haven't really been following him, if you haven't been following what's been going on in Louisville, he's having himself a year down there. 104 games, Jeff. In that 104 games, his slash line, 274, 347 on base, slugging, wait for it, 533. He has got 27 bombs down there for the Louisville Bats. Now I know AAA stats don't equate to big league numbers. Same like spring training stats don't matter. We get it. However, he has nothing left to prove at AAA. So now is the time to get him to the bigs and let's see how it translates. Is he going to come here and continue to hit home runs like that? Probably not. Are his numbers going to dip? Probably so. But he has learned all that he can learn at the AAA level. It's time for the evolution of his game to get him to the majors. This is the right time. He's going to get the month of August. He's going to get the month of September. That is a really good, that's a really good taste of big league baseball heading into whenever next season is, where he will be expected to compete or be counted upon to be one of the Reds starting outfielders, because there's not that many around here. So he's going to need to be successful. It looks now that they've kept JJ Bleday, that next year's outfield is set, Jeff. Dane Meyer in center field, JJ Bleday in left, and probably Hector Rodriguez in right. Now, we'll do a show later this week talking about what that means for Noel V. Marte, but I think that's probably in their mind the opening day outfield next opening day.
Especially if things go right. And we'll talk about his defensive prowess in the outfield. It's not the reason that we're excited. We're excited because of the bat. And yes, stats don't equate 1-to-1 AAA to Major League Baseball. I don't know how many times we've said that on this show. We will continue to say that just because it seems as though people need to be reminded of that. But when it comes to Hector Rodriguez and why the stats matter, like his home run total has increased each of the last 3 years, so much so that this year he has spent all year in Louisville. He started the year in Louisville. He was not at AA at any point. It's all AAA, baby. And he's hit more homers this year than he has in any other season. So he's facing the best level of pitching competition that he's faced, and he's hitting the best that he has. But probably the most encouraging part about his bat, the profile that I love, is that he makes a lot of contact. I mean, he's not like Luis Arias and making like 90% contact rate, but he's right there where you want a league average hitter to be. He makes contact on 86% of the pitches in the strike zone that he swings at, and 77% of the pitches overall. Those are literally the league average lines. That's exactly what a league average hitter is doing right now. He does swing at pitches outside of the strike zone a bit more than the league average hitter. He swings at 36% of pitches outside the zone. League average swings at 32%, but that number has dropped a lot year over year. In fact, every year in the minors, it's dropped a little bit. It dropped 10% from last year. His chase rate was always his biggest concern. It feels like he has worked on that quite a bit. And then also add on to that, he is an above average line drive hitter, something that Nick Krall has told us he wants in the lineup on a daily basis. Hector Rodriguez feels like he profiles exactly the type of guy that the Reds are looking for. So I'm excited to see him hit. The question is going to be the glove. Is it going to stick in the corner outfield? There's a lot of folks that are saying he might just be a DH. That's really what we're going to be looking at the rest of this year.
Oh, Jeff, you have to suppose that somebody cares about defense in that dugout. Nobody cares about defense in that dugout. There ain't nobody looking at defensive metrics. I mean, come on. I think Hector can be an okay right fielder. I mean, he's definitely not gonna have guys peeking out of the corner of their eyes to see if he's gonna get them by surprise. But I think he'll be able to play let's call it serviceable. Let's say serviceable. He could be a serviceable right fielder. And for all the cannon that is in Noel V's arm, every fly ball out there is interesting, man. So, it's just, they're just going to continue to be interesting. But, I'm not worried about him being a DH only guy. Certainly not right now. Certainly not for next year. Maybe he ends up there someday when the Reds figure out they're allowed to sign more than 3 outfielders. But for now, he's the guy. I think and whatever the defense is what the defense is going to be. I'm not sure what this means for Spencer Steer. I'm not sure what this means for Noelvi Marte, but I think that Hector Rodriguez is going to be looked upon now as the guy out there in right field for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, we'll dive in a little bit more on the Noelvi Marte part of this equation on tomorrow's show. Not going to jump into that just yet, but it's very intriguing, kind of thinking about what the Reds are looking at here. But you're right. It was reported that he's going to start Tuesday night's game in right field. It's not that as we record right now, we have not seen a lineup card. So it's not officially official, but basically everybody's saying that's where he's going to start. That's where he's played most of his time in AAA this year. He's played in all three outfield spots, but combining his time in center field and left field, he's played 376 total innings compared to 459 innings in just right field. So that's where he's going to begin. Don't test Terry Francona on whether or not he'll put him in center field. I think that's a given. He's probably going to end up there at some point. But I think that that's what we can expect. The other question that I'm sure folks are wondering about is what's this mean for next year as far as rookie eligibility? Is he going to be available for rookie awards? Is he going to be available to help the Reds get another draft pick next year? That's things that you can do based on rookie eligibility. No, unless he gets sent down next week or at all, he's going to be on the roster for more than 45 days, which immediately disqualifies rookie eligibility. Or if he gets more than 130 at-bats, he's also disqualified for rookie eligibility. So I don't think he will be there next year for the Reds rookie stuff, just to put that out there. But I don't care about that. I just want to see if he's good. Let's see if he can be part of the future. The only way we're going to figure that out at this point is up here at the major league level, because as we started this segment by saying, dude's torched AAA.
Yeah, very, very much so. And he's really been, that one bright spot down in Louisville. We keep, when we've talked about pitching staff and we've talked about guys needing to be sent down, the answer is always, well, who you going to call up? Who's down there?
He's the last remaining guy.
This is the last guy. This is the last of the wave, as it were, of good Reds prospects to call up. There's a big gap now. He was the last one. I'm pulling for him. I want him to have a great season. He's going to be important to the Reds' plans for now, apparently, with these 2 months of fury that Nick Krall is expecting by keeping this production on the roster. And he's very important for the Reds' future as well. All right, coming up next, if the Reds rise to the occasion, it's going to begin right now, today, against the Sacramento A's.
Support for today's episode comes from Clutch Parlays. Whether you're betting on the big game, player props, or building your next parlay, having the right information makes all the difference. Tracking odds across sportsbooks like our friends over at FanDuel, finding value picks, building parlays, tracking bets, and analyzing performance, Clutch Parlays gives you the tools to make every wager with more confidence. What makes Clutch Parlays stand out is how they make everything so accessible. Whether you're looking for the edge on that next money line or that next point spread, whatever it might be, the over under, they've got bet tracking and analytics from a bunch of different places. And Clutch Parlays takes the heart out of it, gives you the information, gives you the trends and different experiences recently from the team to help you make the right pick. Find the best line, build smarter parlays, track every bet, and make more informed betting decisions, all with clutchparlays.com. Go to clutchparlays.com today and use the code LOCKEDON for your first month free on a monthly plan. Clutchparlays.com. Bring together live odds, line shopping, predictions, bet tracking, and analytics in one place so that you can bet with more confidence, pick smarter, parlay sharper.
Before we get into the rest of today's show, it's time for the Everyday Icon presented by Stance. As the official sock partner of Major League Baseball, Stance knows that greatness isn't built in a single moment. It's earned over time through consistency, preparation, and showing up every day. Speaking of every day, I wear my Stance socks every day. I just got these bad boys, Cincinnati Reds Cine Connect, from their Major League Baseball collection. I love these things. Each week, we're going to be recognizing one player whose performance embodies those qualities of being excellent. And for today's Everyday Icon, we're going with Ty Steve, because you know why? He's the only guy on the Cincinnati Reds roster, and surprised he's still on the Cincinnati Reds roster, but he's the only guy that is homered against Ginn, who is the starting pitcher for the A's tonight. You can check out the Icon collection from Stance, premium comfort, performance, and durability designed for whatever your day brings. Use the promo code Locked On at checkout for 20% off your purchase. Stance, the official sock partner of Major League Baseball. Learn more at stance.com. If you can't watch us here on YouTube, we are available on every single podcasting app that's out there. I think if you find one we're not on and you need us to be there, message Jeff. He can probably make that happen for you. Also, the audio feeds is where the Everydayer Club lives. $5 a month, $50 a year. The link's down in the show description. All right, Jeff, the Sacramento A's, the mighty, mighty Sacramento A's. Everybody loves Sacktown. Everybody wants to be there. Well, okay, not really. But the A's, they have the ability to beat some baseball teams. They're not, horrible. They're coming to town. Reds have a 3-game set with them starting tonight down at GABP. And it's going to be an interesting time down at the ballpark. The post deadline haze still going to be kind of hanging over this team. Guys that were expecting to be gone, unpacking their lockers, guys that were thinking they might have a shot at the postseason now know they have to pretty much win all of the baseball games left to make that be a reality. This is going to be an interesting series, I think, for a lot of reasons. Just watching how guys respond, watching how that fog kind of lifts, and seeing how this team rallies around itself moving forward.
I find it poetic that it's Brady Singer who is starting like day after the trade deadline, because we were sure he was gone. I mean, if you would have asked me Sunday, if you would have asked me Monday morning, I would say, yeah, Brady Singer's getting traded. And he's probably going to be pitching to Tyler Stephenson, who we also thought was going to be traded. JJ Bleday is going to be starting in the outfield. Kind of thought he was going to be traded, but I wasn't sure. I think you were more sure of that than me.
Mm-hmm.
Now everybody's still here, and I don't know if that's going to be awkward. I think they're going to push that out and be like, no, it's not awkward. Let's go win a ball game. And they're facing JT Ginn for the not Oakland A's. Would Ted Ginn be a good pitcher? I don't know. I mean, he's fast, athletic. He could have been, who knows?
He can cover. He can field his position, Jeff.
JT Ginn, yes, he would have fielded his position well. He can catch. Brady's, it's interesting because we've been talking about him increasing his trade value for months now. He's still here. So let's just see him be a good pitcher. He's lowered his season ERA to 4.3. His fielding independent pitching still saying that he's actually getting a little bit lucky. A lot of that has to do with the strikeout to walk ratio being unimpressive at 2.5. So hopefully he can get that a little bit better. I think that's likely that he lowers his walks as opposed to increases his strikeout rate. But he's going up against a dude who's actually just coming off of an IL stint in JT Ginn for a blister. Please don't go near any Reds pitchers.
Maybe that's the other way around. Maybe Nick needs to go ask him, hey, how'd you get off the injured list? Maybe that's what needs to happen. Like maybe they compare a little bit. Maybe how'd
you do this, dude? He's only on the IL for 2 weeks with a blister. You can do that? I thought you had to be out for like months. Ugh. Anyway, yeah, hopefully the Reds get a win here, though, because we're talking about a team in the A's that just aren't good at pitching. Like, they can score, and Nick Kurtz is probably going to homer a couple of times in the series because he is amazing. But the Reds should be able to keep up with them because Ginn has a nice ERA. His fielding independent pitching, his FIP, says that he's getting lucky as well. His ERA at 3.46 is much better than Brady Singer's, though. And so when you look at him, he's the best of what I think is going to be the probable starters in the series. The other two guys, although they have not been announced, Jeffrey Springs and Jack Perkins, line up because they started 5 days ago for the A's. Those two guys are pitchers that the Reds should hit early and often.
Yeah, and there's some power in this lineup as well. We're not going to see Shea Langoliers. He's out. He's on the injured list. Yep. Not a problem there. He has 23 bombs on the year. But watch out for Nick Kurtz. He's got 21 bombs on the year. The guy can hit for some power. And we all know that this time of year at GABP, the ball has a tendency to fly. So there are some guys that can go very deep. Tyler Soderstrom is another guy that, has 17 home runs on the year. There's some power in this lineup. I don't want the Reds to go get into, run scoring contests. That's not the way to go. If the Reds starting pitchers can just keep the ball in the yard and give the lineup an opportunity to get into the A's bullpen, I think there's a recipe for success there, where just got to take 2 out of 3. That's got to be the mantra the rest of the way, right? Just win series and see what happens. So you can't go in it with a mindset of we have to go out and sweep every team. I know I jokingly said they've got to win every game the rest of the way, but you got to win series though. And that's a realistic statement, that if they're going to somehow scratch and claw their way back into that final wild card conversation, and that's a real long shot, folks. But if they're going to do that, it starts by winning this series against the A's. There's some tough series coming up. I mean, you and I were talking in prep. Next week is a 5-game set with the St. Louis Cardinals, because they've got a doubleheader to open that series, making up a game from earlier in the year. And that was a 4-game set anyway. So a 5-game in-division series next week. They have to take every opportunity they can. I think this is a winnable series, Jeff. I think that while Oakland is good and plays some good baseball at time, I said Oakland. I did it. I was going to try not to. Dang it. I did it. If Sacramento comes to town, they can play good baseball at time. The Reds are gonna have to win this series. It's a winnable series. 2 out of 3. That's what the Reds can do in this thing.
I remember last year vividly when the Reds went to Sacramento. They got destroyed by this A's lineup. That the A's lineup is very intriguing because there are a number of guys that are underperforming, very similar to the Reds. Lawrence Butler has not had a good year, but he's a very talented player. Jeff McNeil has a back of the baseball card that says he is much better than a 76 OPS plus. And Soderstrom has had some nice power, but he's still hitting 242, right around league average. And you've got just a number of guys that have been very unimpressive. Brent Rooker, we won't see. Remember time or two ago when I said I really wanted Brent Rooker on the Reds? He's been on the 60-day IL for a little bit now. He's not going to be in this series. We're not going to see Langoliers, like you mentioned. Zach Geloff, who is a regular for the A's these past couple of years, he's hurt. He's not going to be in this series at all. So the Reds pitching staff is going to have to do the thing that it needs to do. And especially on Thursday, not just because I'll be at the ballpark, but Hunter Greene's got to shove against this lineup that is underperformed and albeit can be a powerhouse and can really cause you some headaches on the mound. Hunter Greene has got to put all that aside and pitch phenomenally well. His fielding independent pitching that we talked about with a couple of these guys has actually said that he's gotten super unlucky. His FIP is 3.5, whereas ERA is 6.8. And so hopefully he can pitch better to that, much more closer to that, especially if he ends up going against Jack Perkins, who has not pitched well all year for the A's, and the Reds should be able to hit him. But ultimately, if the Reds fancy themselves any sort of a productive organization the rest of the season, it's going to start with a series win against the Oakland A's starting here tonight.
And it starts tonight. And by the way, it is Tarps Off 3-2-1 Tuesday down at Great American Ballpark. Jeff, you got to do it, buddy. I'm going to download the TikTok app today just for you so that I can see your Tarps Off 3-2-1 Tuesday adventure.
I think they make TV shows about guys like me that take their tarps off.
Buddy, talk about a free show. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Reds. Thanks as always for making us your first listen each and every day. Audio folks, go check out Locked On MLB. Sully's got you covered over there. Mike Stanton's got you covered over there. MLB Game Nights got you covered over there, watching every single game every single night so that you don't have to. For the video folks, go check out Locked On's first ever 24/7 national YouTube channel with all of the experts of the Locked On Network talking ball 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Jeff and I will be back in your feeds tomorrow, gathering up all the news, the notes, the rumors, the reports, and the information to keep you Locked On Reds every single day. Tarps off, baby. You got to do it. You got to do it.
Tarps.
Like, it has to happen.
Firmly on. Firmly
no,
placed.
buddy. Listen, you got to give the people. You have to give the people what they want, Jeff. This is what